A hoverboard, probably one of the most useless electric rides ever made. But don't worry, because today I'm turning it into something insanely cool. A one-wheel electric board that balances on a single go-kart tire and rides like a snowboard, whether you are on pavement or off-road. In the last video I did half the job. I tore down the old hoverboard, salvaged both motors, and used some of my go-to engineering tricks to build an airless go-kart tire with a dual motors packed inside. To move forward with the build, I used two 20 by 40 mm aluminum rectangle tubes for the frame. I made 30-degree cuts at all four ends. It's simple and repetitive cut, but to keep it accurate and safe, I built a quick jig. Both rails were cut in 73 cm length and were drilled in the middle for electric motor axis mounting solution. The great thing about working with aluminum is that you can cut, drill and shape it using regular woodworking tools. The axis itself should be shortened, avoiding to stick out of the frame. This step requires a lot of focus and precision, because the last thing I wanted was to accidentally cut through the wires running inside the axle. Once both axles were ready, I salvaged the very last useful parts from the disassembled hoverboard frame: the mounting adapter. After cutting it in half, I had two perfect motor mounts. Slid them into the tube, routed the wires through the holes, and locked them in place with two M8 stainless steel bolts. For a better understanding of the concept, here's a quick look of how they look inside the frame. The fixed rails gave me the final frame width of 26 cm. For the bottom panel, I'll use 2 mm aluminum sheet. My goal was to make it from one single piece, so I scored with an angle grinder for easier bending and folded to the needed shape. After drilling 4 holes in each side, it was ready to mount. The rails were drilled and tapped to accept M4 bolts regarding the bottom panel holes. Once again, it's a breeze to work with aluminum. This panel creates the structural rigidity for the frame with the 8 bolts at the bottom and a pair of bolts in each inner rail side. And those holes on top are for mounting the footpad. I'll use M6 threaded rivets to create solid threads in the relatively thin aluminum. Don't have a rivet nut tool? Me either! Here's how you can install thread rivets using just basic tools. You'll need a bolt, a long nut and pair of washers. Start by threading nut onto the bolt, then slide on the washers. Screw in the rivet nut and insert into the hole, while holding the ball head steady, with a wrench tighten the nut. As you go, it pulls the rivet nut and crushes it into place, just like the real tool. Once it is fully crimped, just unscrew everything and boom! Clean threads, no fancy tools needed. A hoverboard normally uses 2 gyro sensors, one for each motor. But since we turned both motors into a single unit, we only needed one sensor. To make it work, we need to rewire the gyro input to make the wheels spin in the same direction using a signal from just one gyro sensor. I cut the blue and green signal wires from the non-battery side gyro sensor, that one which has shorter wires, and soldered them on the blue and green wires on the battery side gyro terminals at the main board. Now the both motors get the same control signal in sync. For the non-battery side motor, I also had to rework few wires. Depending on the hoverboard, the phase wires color combination might differ, but for mine, the yellow stays connected to yellow, and the blue wire gets switched to green, while the green gets connected to blue. This part ensures the motor spins in the correct direction. Next up, the whole sensor wires of the same motor. The only change here is that the blue wire goes to yellow and the yellow wire connects to blue. The rest stay the same: red to red, green to green, and black to black. And that's it! Rewiring is finished. Not as complicated as it might seem at first. Time to manage all wires through the frame inside internal compartments. You might have noticed a few extra holes in the frame. Most of those were made with a 20 mm metal hole saw I had laying around. Turned out it was the perfect size for running the wires and connectors through. To keep everything safe and avoid cutting into the cables, I 3D printed some thin protective rings and installed them around the edges. I'm really happy how it looks. The motor cable barely sticks out of the frame. All it took was drilling the right holes in the right spots. The main board was placed on 3D printed risers and secured with 4 mm bolts. Next, install the power button with the charging port and started to connect all connectors back to their places. I used to make small stuff like spacers or wire insulator rings from whatever scrap I had laying around. But let's be honest, it usually meant digging through drawers, boxes and every corner of the shop just to find the right size piece and then cutting it down to fit. These days, I do it the modern way. I just spent a few seconds designing the part in Fusion, send it to Bambi Studio and let the printer handle the rest. Just like that. A few clicks later, my Bambi Lab A1 printer got a job over Wi-Fi and started printing. I've had this printer for almost a year now, and honestly, it is ridiculously easy to get high-quality prints without messing with calibrations, bed leveling or extrusion flow. It takes care of all of that for you. And for some prints, I haven't even had to touch a computer. I've been doing it all on my phone. They've got their own app where people upload their designs and models, and you can just scroll through, pick up what you want, and hit print. The printer itself is fast. It has built-in camera, and thanks to the EMS Lite add-on, you can print up to 4 different colors at once. Now, to be fair, I usually stick to a single color prints like most people, but I keep 4 different filaments loaded in the EMS, so I can switch materials on the fly without having to stop or reload anything. It's hard to think of a more capable setup at this price point. Having a 3D printer in the workshop just unlocks a whole new level of problem solving. It completely changed the way I work and how I tackle fabrication challenges. I'm no longer sketching out templates on paper or, as in this case, spending forever measuring and marking drill holes. Now it's just a quick 5 minutes model in Fusion and straight to the printer. It's insanely precise, super quick and way less hassle. Speaking of hassle, fingers crossed everything works smoothly during testing. First, I triggered the optical sensor with a scrap piece of wood, then leaned the board to the side to simulate the gyro sensor riding angle. Both motors should spin smoothly. If there is any jerky movement, loud noise, or they try to spin in opposite direction, something's off, and it's time to troubleshoot the wiring. Pretty obvious, the battery needed a bit of modification, since it just didn't fit inside the frame due to its height. Luckily, it is a simple fix that doesn't require any special tools, just a soldering iron, a few wires and some insulation materials. I relocated the 4 top cells to the side, which meant I had to extend a few balance wires and move the BMS as well. After extending the main power wires, I wrapped the whole pack in the heat ring for protection and insulation. Just like that, the battery became slimmer and now fits perfectly within the limited space. Once the wires were routed through the rail to the mainboard, it could be closed flush. The footpad will be made from 9mm plywood. First, I drilled countersunk holes to match the M6 threaded rivets at the frame. On the underside, I needed to mount the gyro sensor and make a slot for the optical sensor activator. Using a couple of Forstner bits on a drill press, I made a clean recess for the rubber piece to sit in. To mount the gyro sensor precisely, I 3D printed 4 spacers and a template to mark and drill mounting holes. Assembly order matters here. First comes the rubber activator, which I enlarged using a 3D printed cap. Then, with the help of a 25mm spacers, I mounted the gyro board at exactly the right height and position. Thanks to the 3D printed template, everything aligned perfectly and came out together on the first try. Pressing the blue cap compresses the rubber piece and activates the optical sensor on the gyro. Once the gyro was wired to the main board, I secured the footpad with M6 low-profile furniture bolts. On the battery side, it was much simpler. Just packed some stiff foam around the battery to prevent rattling and close it up the same way. To close up the open ends, I needed to make some bumpers. Same story as before. Quick sketch, send it to printer and let it do the rest. Pretty much every project I do involves 3D printed parts, and this one's no different. Here's a whole pile of prints that didn't make it into the final version. Prototyping is messy, but here's the good news. I'll be sharing all the final print files on MakerWorld. You'll be able to download everything easily, and I'll even include personalized files for A1 printer. You can send them straight to the print from your browser or your phone. Seriously, How cool is that? If you've been thinking about getting into 3D printing, now's the time. The A1 is hands down the best bang for your buck printer out there. I'll drop a link in the description if you want to check it out. The bumpers turn out great. Since these parts are going to take a beating, having the ability to reprint replacements anytime is a huge win. And because it is 3D printed, you can easily modify the design to suit your needs. Maybe add rolling wheels, a carrying handle, or even some built-in LED lights. Each one has a side pocket designed to hold M6 nut, which lets me secure them using the same bolts as the footpads. The final touch was adding grip tape, an absolute must if you want solid foot grip. It's super cheap, it has sticky adhesive backing, and just happened to be the perfect width of mine footpads. It evenly covered all the bolts, but I can easily cut out access holes when and if I need it. That's exactly what I did to expose the board's activation button under the tape. And there it is, a DIY Onewheel made entirely from old hoverboard parts. New design, new proportions, and a whole new life for components that would otherwise gone to waste. What's left from the original hoverboard? Pretty much nothing. Just the frame, few bits of plastic, and the tires. But that's the beauty of it, seeing potential in the stuff most people would just throw away. To get going, all it takes is to turn it on and press an activation button. You need to get used to stepping on with your toes first, and then activating it by placing your heel down. It definitely takes a little bit of practice to get riding, but after just a few tries, riding it becomes surprisingly smooth and intuitive. When people saw me riding this and learned it started as a junked hoverboard, a few of them said, "Hey, I've got one of those laying around," and just gave them to me for free. And now they're starting to pile up. So what do you think I should build with them next? Drop a comment below and we'll see where it goes. Thanks for your time, and I'll hope to catch you in the next one. See you!